A priestess, a swordsman, and a bodyguard walk into a haunted playground. Welcome to Chrono Ark. Chrono Ark is a party-based RPG roguelike deck builder. What this word salad means is you're piloting a cast of 4 characters with attributes and items, like in classic RPGs, but each team member moveset is determined by a deck of cards. What sets Chrono Ark apart is how balls to the wall over the top everything is, as well as the in-depth story accompanying it, somewhat of a rarity in roguelike games. Characters are defined by their passives and their possible selection of cards, which are the most unique I think I've ever seen in such a game. Like a tank that can parry enemy attacks under certain conditions, or a puppet master that moves the doll around allies in order to assist with extra attacks, and so on. You know what, let's go over some more, because I really like the cast. You also have a basic masochist damage dealer that gets powered up the lower his health gets, a cleric that sees divine prophecies rather than drawing from the deck, a gluttonous greedy lazy phoenix whose whole shtick is wreaking havoc on your whole team in return for some huge payoffs. And now I really need to stop myself so I don't spoil the entire thing for you. When it comes to party variety, if you know what you're doing, the world is pretty much your oyster. I've successfully gone for teams with no tanks, teams with just tanks, teams where the damage comes from applying tremendous amounts of buffs on everyone, which through a specific interaction damages all enemies. This is because of the versatility within each role. Tanks can be used to soak damage or to further debilitate enemies. Damage dealers can, well, deal damage, or empower the rest of the team. Supports can empower the team, debuff the enemies, deal damage themselves. It truly is incredible how much is possible within this cast. So, once the game starts, you select a party of 2, and it's go time. The goal is to explore different randomly generated areas to power up your party as much as possible to then engage in combat with a series of different enemies. At the end of each area there's a boss, which is one of the highlights of the game, more on that later. Once you get to combat, things aren't as straightforward, quite the opposite. Other than the UI itself though, which is an eyesore to put it mildly, I love everything here. Combat is divided into rounds where you're in control of the pace of battle, since enemies attack after their countdown reaches 0, and it ticks down whenever you play a card. Cards are played using mana that generate at the beginning of each round, and that's basically it. Except it's not. As you play multiple cards of the same character, they become tired, making further cards by that same character more expensive. Unless cards have swiftness, in which case it doesn't tire them, nor does it make enemies count down. When a friendly character is hit, the damage is stored as healing gauge. If damaged again, the healing gauge disappears and it's much harder to heal them back up. Unless their healing gauge is protected. See what I mean? Below the surface there's a slew of system mechanics, each with their own exceptions and corner cases. And that's the gist of what you can do in combat. But then you factor in the enemy variety and what they can do, and it's crazy on top of crazy at this point. Boss fights in particular get pretty ridiculous pretty fast. Bosses are as unique as your characters and they get progressively more absurd as the game moves along. Early on, it's as simple as big tank does tons of damage, so you need a way to heal it quickly while still dealing some damage back. By the end, you're dealing with bosses that puppeteer your party by forcing you to self-target some attacks and some other nonsense. Each boss is tightly designed to test your party in specific ways, and it's great to engage with them. And now I guess that's basically it when it comes to combat. You power up to kill enemies to power up further while adding new characters to the party and loop it all again. So how does Chrono Ark make the getting stronger half interesting? Well, in many roguelikes you're trying to accrue small incremental advantages in order to hedge your bets and painstakingly coming out victorious on the other end of grueling and grinding encounters. Not in Chrono Ark, baby. Here it's all about laser focusing on an idea to exponentially make it better, faster than the game outpowers you. If you cannot turn your dinky attacks that deal 10 damage into planet destroyer monster hits that reliably hit for 5 times more, well, I sure hope you enjoy seeing that retry button. Additionally, you have so much control over your progression that outside of the very early game, you don't take what the game gives you to build around like a pushover. You barge in with the spiked club, force the game to give you what you want, and then take its lunch money just for good measure. This can be accomplished through many different means that touch on the many different system mechanics available, which helps the game keep its longevity and replayability. After all, I've played over 140 hours of this game and I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. To begin with, just understanding how each character is supposed to work can take some massive brain power due to how complex each moveset is. But how do you get those cool new skills and abilities? By spending a limited resource to level up characters. But this resource is shared between the entire team and is also used for a bunch of other stuff like increasing your maximum mana, and that's not all, but I can't go into too much detail, otherwise this video will be 10 hours long. So just managing this level up resource is a minigame in and on itself. Remember, this is all just about what cards your deck contains. Then on top of it, you factor in character attributes like attack and defense and debuff accuracy and debuff resistance and critical chance and critical damage and armor and speed and knows god what else that are affected by what items you equip. Items that then have an enormous range of unique effects, come from a myriad different sources that's up for you to learn and exploit to maximize the chances of getting the perfect one for the situation. And then there's relics that grant passive effects to the entire team, of which you have a limited number of slots to equip, but wait, there's more and more. Anyway, this is a very well written segue into me talking about the soundtrack, which is fucking awesome. Every single song slaps. It should definitely be a DLC so that I could buy it. Chrono Ark also features a very in-depth story that, to be perfectly honest, I paid very little attention to. Maybe this is because I played the game a ton during early access where there was no story at all, so I just wanted more of the meat. But the point is, this game has such a tight and engaging gameplay loop that rather than stop to smell the roses along the way, I just wanted to trudge the path of most destruction, mowing everything in sight with a big oversized anime heavy sword. Thankfully, the game perfectly accommodates this behavior and the story is easily skippable and re-experienced later with little friction. From what I glimpsed, however, the story seems fairly well put together, and if nothing else, the past few years of early access have been focused primarily on the narrative with tons and tons of frequent updates, which seemed mostly well received. So at least care went into it, even if I can't comment on my personal experience. Now, let's talk downsides. I have two main gripes with Chrono Ark. The first is the UI. It's so busy. I don't have a great solution because there's a lot of information to convey, but all I know is that when first starting the game, I forgot half of the actions I could take at any given moment, because I was either overwhelmed with choices or had some option locked behind the menu, so I forgot it even existed. You do get used to it, but it's a steep hill to climb. Now, and most egregiously, what the fuck is this shit? Like, I know thirst traps are a thing, but that's not what I signed up for when I purchased this game. The available DLC goes in the same direction with some ridiculously lewd costumes, but at least I'm not forced to interact with it, I guess. Don't get me wrong, the game in general is somewhat saucy, but not to this extent. Come on. This most recent character just seemed to come out of the deepest confines of the developer's ideal sex dungeon for some reason. And I mean, mechanically, she's just as interesting as the rest of the game. But come on, it's so stupid. If there's new content yet to come, I sure hope this isn't the direction it will be taken in. And... oh my god, you should have told me the time! Why didn't you tell me the time? What the fuck are you doing? It's so late! Anyway, go play Chrono Ark right now. See ya!